awfully well parts of the first half, very well in the midway point of the second half. And then we just kind of took some bad shots. A couple of those turnovers were bizarre ones because I think we had 3 offensive fouls screening. But I'm happy we found a way to win. Some teams are finding a way to lose. And I thought we had a great practice today. So hopefully that'll lead to something. We understand what the RAC is like. We know they've beaten some good teams there in Iowa and Purdue, Michigan. So we got our work cut out for us. But at the same time, I think we're going in there ready to play. I do think it helps. It doesn't help me in the meantime, but I think it'll help us in the future because there is some resolve. They figure out ways to win. It's teaching points on how important is making free throws. I mean, we're leading this conference in free throw shooting, and we've needed them in a few games. Last year, maybe we lost some games because we didn't shoot well from the line or we didn't cut out, whichever way you want to look at it. But you have to miss a free throw to cost you on a cutout too. So I think we're learning how to win different ways. I'd like us to win a little more solidly. And that'll be about not turning the ball over. It'll be about getting defensive rebounds and still getting our running game going. That's the one area we haven't done as well of lately. Well, I'd like to see it now because you have to have it when you get to March. When you play the end of the Big Ten season, you play the Big Ten tournament, you get into the NCAA tournament, if you don't have consistency, you win a game and you go home. I have no interest in that in any tournament we're playing in. So, yes, I'd like to be able to put back-to-back halves together. I'd like to put back-to-back games together. I'd like to finish games a little better than we have. But at the same time, we've used our depth a lot, and I think we're going to be more ready if something goes wrong later on in the year. So, yeah, consistency is what every coach wants. I think it's what every program wants. So, I'd like to improve that for sure. Well, we got back to playing our war drill 3 times today. So I do think some of it is my fault. I do think some of it is we aren't physically as tough as we need to be. So we got to get more physical in our cutouts. I do think and we've had to make some adjustments. These number of long threes that people are taking, we have had some bounce over our head in fairness, and we really looked at that. But we have to make the adjustment, cut out a little deeper, do things a little different than maybe we've done. And so, we're never ending learning what we got to do. But at the end of the day, I think that you need people with a nose for the ball, and you need people to gain rebound. We kind of rebound in our area, but not outside our area. And so that's why, when you look at us, field goal percentage defense has been very good. I think we're 2 in the conference, but we're not finishing the job with a rebound. And I think what we used to understand that was very important. I think now we talk about our defense, we talk about our rebounding separately, and defending and rebounding really is the same exact deal. Because if you defend well and you don't get the rebound, you're just defending all over again. So we put some emphasis on it like we always do, but as I say, what you emphasize is what you get. And you guys should say, well, why don't you emphasize everything? The NCAA and their damn 20-hour rule won't let us do that. So we're doing it the best we can, and we're making some progress. But I think one thing, I've had many people call me, what happened at Maryland? And I just want to keep everything in perspective here that one guy called me and said, we would have celebrated that win last year. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for it either way, but we're not a great team yet. Our record shows that we are, but our play hasn't shown that yet. We have the possibility to get to be one if we take care of these problems, but you're not going to go to a Maryland. I don't care what anybody's record is. They have good players, and that's a good team. And we played good enough. We didn't played good enough to look great, in fact, if we would have finished the job. So there's a lot of big games coming up, and we got a lot of big games against good teams. This team was 6-4 going into last night's game or the night before, and they lose in overtime. 6 wins. There's not a lot of Big Ten teams. That's more than some Big Ten teams have right now. Meaning a lot of the upper half of the league. So keep things in perspective. We got a lot of work to do. It's going to kind of be a rock fight, guys throwing boulders. I mean, they're a very physical team. They're a big team. They start 6'4", 6'7" at the guards. They have physicality to them. Those Jersey kids are tough kids, and Steve is a really good coach, and I think a really good defensive coach. So, yeah, it's going to be a physical game. What did they beat Iowa 49-48? And they've scored 80-some. So they can do it both ways, but it's not going to be one for the meek and mild. I can promise you that. And whatever that means, we're going to still try to run the ball. But at this time, we're going to try to do it after we rebounded instead of before we rebounded. Assistants knew Mulcahy, when he was being recruited. And that was a big-time recruit for them. I mean, he's a hell of a player. It's not like he's come out of nowhere. He's done a good job for them. They move him around. He plays the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. He's got versatility. I mean, I just love that about the kid. We talk about a tough kid. To me, he's a tough kid. Don't know him personally, but he can beat you in the post. He can back you down. He can shoot a 3. He's got versatility, length, and strength, and toughness. And those are good qualities. And I think Steve probably really appreciates that. Did I see the 31 or 32 points? I really wasn't ready for that. But, that's what great players do, is they have their coming out of nowhere parties. And I thought he did that against Northwestern. I'm sure he's going to be feeling good. And he's a load to cover because he can do it so many different ways from so many different positions. I think that's one thing I love about Steve's team. There's many things, but one of the things I love is he's got versatility to move people all around. His best shooter, could be Harper, and yet Baker is, I've seen him have unbelievable nights. So he's probably saying the same thing I am. He'd like a little more consistency out of his team, and I feel the same way. So I can sympathize with my friend out there. Well, it wasn't playing a little better. He sees things better than I do. And he's just so good about it, and always willing to help, and he just utters a few words that don't always make sense. Take your time a little bit more, be looking up the court a little bit more, come off those ball swings, get downhill a little bit more. But anytime any of those guys like Magic or Cleaves or Draymond or Smitty, those guys, when they speak, I'm like E.F. Hutton, I listen, and I listen, and then I of course I relay it because number one, it's a privilege and an honor that those guys care enough. And number two, sometimes players needed to hear it from somebody else other than just the coach. And we've had those guys call our players. They've called them on their own. One of the great things about this place, and I'm blessed with the chance to hear from some of the best. And when that happens, I definitely relay it.
Thank you.
Make decisions.
I burned that tape when I got on the airplane. I'm not sure I ever watched it. And I don't mean that in any negative way. It's just that we did not play very well. They did play very well. I mean, I don't know how many understand this guy, to me, is a really, really good coach. Now, he had some injuries and things happen early in the year, and they lost a couple of games, then you lose your confidence. And then, the schedule will dictate a lot of things right now. And confidence is a big part of it. So, no, that's one thing I don't bring up was last year's game for a variety of reasons. The biggest one is we got smacked. And there's no revenge. There's revenge when you lose by 5 and you didn't get a big rebound. When you lose by 100, there's nothing you want to do except destroy the tape, pretend it didn't happen and leave the state of New Jersey. You know, what we'll do is, Wisconsin gave us maybe the best prep for that, but tomorrow we'll add a little music into the practice and try to make it so loud somebody can't hear. If you've been to the rack, it's a great place, man. I love it, Derek. I'd really like to watch games there if I wasn't playing in them, to be honest with you. I can get in with that crowd and have some fun, but it is one of the great venues, I think, historically in college basketball, and they have been getting back at it. Now, last year was the COVID year. I haven't been there this year, but everybody I talk to still says, it's getting better and better. And I think they appreciate there's some veterans on this team that I think their fans should appreciate. And you got to remember one thing about this team. They've shot it up and down a little bit. Again, we've done some things up and down a little bit, but they play hard, man. They play hard and tough. And I think that's what'll make this a very good game. Yeah, definitely. He's not getting the lift and not getting the arch on it. He's going through everybody from, Michael Jordan to Chris Hill to trying to think of the great shooters I've had, Denzel Valentine, Brent Forbes' his junior year. I mean, he was shooting it so well and he was so comfortable that I think it's shocking. It's called a little bit of a shooting slump. And the reason I don't worry about it is the same reason I don't with Max. If you got guys that work on it all the time, now could he be wearing down a little bit, not getting as much lift? Now that's what happens this time of year too, and that's why I think our depth, that's why I think Pierre, maybe we got to get him a little rest. But thank God today he shot well in practice, and Gabe's a worker, he's a grinder, so he'll work his way out of it. But we talked about it being a little flat. We talked about, shooters are like pitchers, they're like quarterbacks, they're like kickers. They don't make a shot. They sometimes, it gets to some of them. And we just got to give him some confidence. And I know he's back in the gym. He'll be in there tonight and working his way out of it. So nothing else wrong with it. We want him to shoot the ball, and he will shoot the ball, and I think he'll shoot the ball well. Well, we have been spending a little more time on us than the opponent because, for a while there, we were playing teams that we've already played once. So the prep wasn't as hard. Then you play a team one time like we have also done. And it's gone back and forth. Today we spent a little more time on Rutgers. And we try to balance it out with film and these rules, these great rules where we're allowed to play 6 days a week, but we're not allowed to practice on the 7th. So you got to space things out. It makes it a little difficult. And that's one of the things our schedule made it a little harder. We played some teams twice already. And now we got a lot of one game preps kind of. And some days they're only going to be 1 day preps. So we got to do both. But we're going to be prepared to play Rutgers. We understand how good they are. We've seen some of the games they played awfully well in. And yet we are trying to work on us a little bit more. So today's practice went 2 hours and 15 minutes. Instead of the normal 2 hours, we cheated, but we didn't go above our 20-hour allotment because I don't want to be thrown in jail.